Hello, Jake. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. I haven't seen you in a little while, but I mean, to be fair, the first time I met you was actually last year. Went to one of your gigs in the UK. I remember you actually performed one of the songs that came out later in the new year in 2026, because when I saw you, it was December of last year. It was just wonderful all around. You've lived some pretty incredible stuff over the last few months, to say the least. So, yeah, I'm just going to do a little background, a bit of a reference for people who maybe don't know anything about you. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So
Sure.
you're 22, right?
I am. Yeah.
New Jersey native, grew up pretty much obsessed with Tom Petty after seeing the Heartbreakers at the Super Bowl halftime show when you were 3 years old. You reached the top 14 on American Idol's 2026 season, and you were compared by Carrie Underwood to a young Springsteen and a young Dylan, which is pretty.
I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
it's
I did not mind that.
pretty cool statements. You should be proud of that. And you released two projects so far. So Down the Line in 2020, which I believe was released independently. And you released later on The Half Left Out in 2023, which was an EP. One of the topics that we're going to cover in this little interview is the Tom Petty Weekend. So you're actually a recurring performer at the Tom Petty Weekend in Gainesville. You've shared the stage with original Heartbreakers, and you're actually returning again this November. And we're going to talk a little bit about your influences, because I'm actually really surprised with the stuff you've covered on American Idol in a good way. I'm actually a big Sam Fender fan. To see you perform 17 Going Under, wow, I was really happy to see that, as obviously one of the people who have been following you for your Tom Petty covers and originals. To see you sing some Sam Fender was unreal. So the Japanese House, the War on Drugs, you've cited them as influences on the new record, which we're going to talk about, of course, and alongside Tom Petty and Springsteen. All correct from what I've just said?
All correct. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. So I guess the best way to start this is, since I saw you last December, you've done a few things, and starting with American Idols, I kind of wonder what has changed for you since American Idol.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was an incredible experience. I really didn't know exactly what to expect going into it. It had kind of been a long time coming. They'd reached out for a couple years, and it's just such a big time commitment. It never really worked out. I had the record coming out, or I was on the road or something, but everything seemed to kind of just align for it this year. So we ended up going in and doing it. And I had a great time. I made so many friends, people that I still talk to legitimately every day. I mean, that was the thing. The top 30 and the top 20 and, especially the top 14, like we were all an incredibly close group. I'm not sure if that's the case every season, but I think we had a particularly harmonious group and a
Mm,
supportive group. And there was no sort of, my biggest trepidation going into the show was I was more than happy to play my music in front of millions of people every Monday. Like that was a selling point, but I did not want to enter into some sort of toxic like reality
yeah,
show environment, or I didn't want to be edited or have any of my friends be edited not how they actually were, whatever. And I thought Idol did an incredible job. They kept it very real. Everything that happened really happened, and it sort of happened how they suggested it happened, which was a blessing that they weren't, kind of out
yeah.
to get people. And everybody was just so supportive of each other. And we all still are, following the show. And now we're all kind of entering our own careers. So that was sort of my biggest takeaway was, I mean, obviously I learned a ton working with the producers and the judges and the guest mentors and everything like that. But, for me, my biggest takeaway was just the friends I made and how supportive it was. And it was really the first time I really felt, part of like a musician, family of people my own age. I've always played with people a lot older than me. And I think that really did wonders to kind of teach me what I wanted and how to do it, because these are people
Mm,
who've done it for, 20, 30, 40 years. And that's how I, learned from them. But it was also
yeah.
really great to meet a lot of up and comers and, people who are just so good. And that was a ton of fun.
Amazing. I mean, honestly, the musicianship you sort of built over the last few years, you've toured Europe, you've played shows in the US, you're very close to the Tom Petty estate, the stuff that you've done, I believe, for Mike Campbell's charity. You've lived some pretty amazing things. So would you say American Idol sort of tops it all? With no disrespect to all the other things that you've done, would you say that's probably the biggest thing you've done in your career so far?
Well, I think it's all relative. I mean,
Yeah.
it probably from a number standpoint, I would imagine yes. I
Yeah.
mean, it was definitely like the single most, I guess, influential decision I made in terms
Yeah.
of like what my follower count looks like, or like it bumping up streaming numbers or something.
Gotcha.
You know, but that being said, there is something about, that just like a sort of a personal growth that I feel if I have a conversation with Mike Campbell or something like that is also kind of unmatched just
Yeah,
because I grew up learning so much just through
yeah,
YouTube that getting to like experience that in person is something that's incredible. So it's kind of tough for me to sort of measure the value of the two things for sure, but to say that Idol probably was the most visibility I've sort of gotten
yeah.
in one fell swoop is certainly true.
Did that feel, I've actually, from my own experience, I've never done a show like this before, but I have a very good friend of mine called Pierre who happened to actually win the Star Academy in France. I don't know if
Mhm.
you guys have the Star Academy in the US. I believe it's sort of like a worldwide thing where in every country they have some kind of like X Factor. So the Star Academy is huge in France and he actually won it. He didn't have his phone while he was going through the whole experience. So he came out of it all and he had like over 1 million subscribers and he was like the biggest thing in France, genuinely like, outrageous. And so what you went through, I believe you still had your phone, you were still able to
Yeah.
communicate with people, but it must have been incredible seeing how one performance on TV all of a sudden you gain so many followers. I know that's obviously not what you live for and that's not what you stand by in terms of like your values and principles as an artist, but surely it's got to feel a little bit overwhelming in a good way.
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah,
mean, and that was the thing. Yeah, we did have our phones the whole time. And the other thing was when we did our records before the live shows, everything was pretty sparse. We
yeah,
did 2 rounds in November, pre-film down in Nashville, and then we did 2 rounds in January over the course of a week and a half or so in Hawaii, which was a ton of fun.
yeah,
And then we were off, and I had gotten 4 rounds in. I had made the top 20 before any episodes even
yeah,
began to air. So that was kind of an interesting thing. So I was able to sort of watch myself from home, which was
yeah.
kind
Okay,
of a weird
gotcha.
thing. And it's funny because, American Idol would set up interviews for us and we hadn't had any episodes there. So we had to be we couldn't say we made the top 20 or whatever. And to this
Gotcha.
day, as I'm talking to you and I mentioned that I made the top 20, my heart drops like I wasn't supposed to say it just because it's been
Mm,
so ingrained. It's like, don't give away anything.
mm,
But it's all done now. And then we did
gotcha.
the live shows, and of course, that was like week to week as you saw it.
Yeah.
So I was in LA for about I think 2 weeks, maybe three, for that, and then we all came back for the finale. But anyway, so we started in November. I did the Europe run in between that, and it was like there was a lot going on that was so far apart from each other. So it was kind of a different thing than sort of being sequestered.
I'm curious. You don't have to answer this question, but did you have a favorite judge on the show? Because obviously, out of everyone there, you've got what Carrie Underwood, Lionel Richie. So I'm forgetting a few of them.
Luke Bryan is the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they were all super nice. They were all super supportive, and they were all incredibly nice to like me. They were very supportive, I think, from the beginning. But
yeah,
I mean, Lionel's Lionel. I gotta say,
yeah. I can't lie. I would go for Lionel straight
yeah.
away. We are the world. All of the great things he's done in his career. Obviously, with all respect to
Oh,
all the
yeah.
other judges,
Oh,
it's
they're
pretty
all
incredible.
incredible. They were all super
Yeah,
super kind to all of us,
I'm sure. I'm
and
sure they
very
must have
supportive
been.
and just so good at their jobs. Luke and Lionel have been on the show. I want to say 9 years now or something. And Carrie's on her second season, but she of course won the show. So like they all have it
Yeah,
down to a complete science, and they were all great to us.
yeah,
But yeah, I remember walking in, and you walk into the judges' room, and obviously for your first audition, it's just those three,
yeah.
and it looks exactly how it looks on TV, and it's kind of weird to stand there and not be looking at it through like a screen.
Mm.
And yeah, I definitely gravitated and was like, "Oh, wow, okay, that's Lionel. Like, that's Lionel."
Unreal. Unreal. Yeah, it was a fun experience. I mean, from my perspective, obviously being in the UK, watching the show was actually not possible. So I had to wait for the replays to come out. I would have to use like a VPN to essentially watch it.
Mhm.
I hope I don't get the police come knocking on my door. I thought I'd get VPN just to get my votes in.
Well, I appreciate it.
So, I'm expecting a little bank transfer in the next 10 minutes. So
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, if they find out I had foreign votes, maybe they bump me down to top 20.
no, more seriously. So you mentioned something about. So at one point you were in Hawaii. If I'm not mistaken, is that when you performed your original Sleep on Me?
Yeah. We
Yeah,
did 2 rounds in Hawaii, and the first one was the Ohana round, which was, yeah, I guess they called it the family round, and yeah, I did
yeah.
Sleep on Me there.
So obviously, in these sort of shows, most contestants, especially on American Idol, would lean towards covers. And what you did, I thought, was really brave to perform an original one that you kind of just came up with. I don't know if you had written it a long time before, but for that to be the sort of first display of the song, I thought really brave, and obviously it earned you a spot in the next round. So, what made you decide to go for the original? Was it your decision? Was it, I don't know, your manager's decision? Like, was that actually yours?
It was, yeah. I mean, all the song choices were 100% our decision. There was a couple times we had like theme nights where they really narrowed it down for us. But yeah, I mean, we had full autonomy and all that, or at least I did. I can't speak for everyone, I guess. I mean, I went into the show really, it was very important to me to be seen as a songwriter. My audition, like my first audition, I also auditioned with an original,
Mm.
but they didn't air it. They ended up airing a cover instead. So no
Mm.
one got to see that. When I went into for the judges and I was like in front of the three, I played Brooklyn Can Wait for them. That was a great time. I was
Yeah.
excited about that. I also did the Blind Faith song. So it was all, everything that happened.
Yeah.
But they ended up just airing because it was a shorter song. So anyway, I tried to play originals at pretty much every opportunity I could.
Yeah.
And so at that point, that was the third round. So it was the first round I had done an original and a cover, and they aired the cover. The second round, you were allowed to do an original, but if you did an original, the band wouldn't learn it, which made total sense to me because,
Right. So
you know,
would that be like a solo acoustic?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that because everybody else was going to be playing with the band, and I didn't. Those judges are seeing minimum at that rate, probably 60 people a day, maybe
Yeah.
more, in rapid fire. So I didn't want to be the guy that like sat on a stool with a guitar when everybody else
Mm.
had these like pyrotechnics and stuff. So I did the Sam song. And then the third round, the band would learn an original. And so
Yeah.
that was an honor. They're an incredible band. Our musical director on the show was Chris Pooley. He kind of works with everybody, but he's Sabrina Carpenter's musical director right now and works with Lady Gaga. All of his artists go on to have a ton of success. So anyway, it was great working with him and the musicians he
Yeah.
brought in. So they learned the original and it was great. And yeah, so that was kind of the thought process, was putting in as many originals as I can and having a lot of fun.
Unreal. The support you got. I mean, I was pretty active on Facebook and all the different social media platforms. I noticed like you got support from the Tom Petty estate, Tom Petty Nation, obviously. Literally all the Tom Petty Facebook groups were fully rooting for you. It was unreal. At that time, I remember I was really listening to Kevin Brown from the Tom Petty Project.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Every episode he would do a little introduction presenting what happened the last episode of American Idol, always covering you. Looking back, I know you kind of covered that at the start of the conversation, but how do you feel about that chapter now? I know you mentioned you're great friends with some of the people you met on the show. You're pretty close to Julian, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He was just living with me for a week. He left yesterday. So
Oh, unreal.
otherwise, he
Unreal.
would have said hi, sitting in the corner.
Would you say Julian is probably your best mate from the show?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'll say definitely. We were eliminated together. We hit it
Yeah.
off very well, closely in Hawaii as well. And yeah, it's a very fast friendship. The talent of my season, I think a lot of it came from, I mean, the voices are always going to be the voices. Jordan and like all the people, up at the top
Yeah.
had incredible voices, but the musicianship and the songwriting was also pretty unmatched,
Pretty
I think,
special.
in our
Yeah.
season. And I just had such a great time getting to talk through that with Chris and Brooks, Kendall, and all these amazing, Jesse, all
Yeah.
these amazing people. So I always considered myself sort of like a songwriter among singers. And so
Yeah.
my whole thing going in was just, let me try to be as authentic and genuine as possible. Because if I try to sing around all these other people, I'm going to completely bomb in an awful spectacle. I maintain some of the people I met are legitimately some of the best singers and performers I have ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I knew going in, it's like, I'm not even going to attempt like any sort of pop or gospel song that would fly me away. So I just wanted to be really authentic. So that was what I went in. I knew I
Yeah.
was kind of a songwriter among singers. The round I was eliminated on, and this actually goes the same for Julian, but we both kind of knew our time was up, and we actually scheduled our elimination posts before the
Yeah.
show because we didn't have
Yeah.
access to our phones. And there was a producer kind of near us named Patrick, who's been on all 24 seasons. Like he knows literally everyone who's ever been on the show. He has to go through him. And he's like, guys, don't do that. Don't do that because you don't have access to your phones. And he's like, in my 24 years, no two have ever correctly predicted that they're getting eliminated this night.
Mm.
So if you put up your elimination post, if it's scheduled, you don't get your phone to the end of the episode, it's going to be a mess for production, And we're like, yeah, okay. And we just scheduled it. And sure enough, we both got eliminated and we come back, they take out our in-ears and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the guy's taking out our in-ears and he just kind of like appears in front of us while the show's going on. And
Yeah.
he's like, I am so fucking freaked out right now. That has never happened. Two people predicting that at once. And it's sure enough, but we did it. So anyway, we kind of knew, I don't want to speak for him, but I
Yeah.
kind of knew my time was up. I felt like I had kind of accomplished everything I could have on the show. And I thought it was time for some people with a little bit more, I think, of like an American Idol voice and an American Idol story to really start the competition and, go. But I felt like I'd kind of made my stand. You know what I mean?
Oh, you absolutely did. So to kind of switch the topic a little bit, so in November, you've got the Tom Petty weekend in Gainesville, Petty's hometown. So given how much respect you've earned from Petty diehards and Heartland rock fans in general, there's got to be a real pride in that. You're probably the best act to come out of New Jersey in this generation. You're probably too humble to say that yourself. So,
I
tell
wouldn't say
me.
it myself, but I appreciate it.
No, 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 no. You can. Say it with chest, mate.
Have you ever been to New Jersey?
I mean, I've been to New York. Been to
Well,
New
next time
York.
you come to New Jersey, I'll show you some good acts. Maybe
Yeah.
you'll change your tune.
Okay, but I doubt that's going to change my mind. But you can try.
I appreciate it.
Do you have any specific plans for this year's Tom Petty weekend? Obviously, you did it loads. Is there maybe a little bomb, a little something you can tell us about this year's? Maybe.
Well, I'm super excited. I think this is my 6th time doing it and my 5th year in a row doing it. It's always such a great time down there. I'm so grateful they have me every year. The Heartwood Soundstage is the venue, and there's a really great indoor, the soundstage. I want to say 60 people or something. It's a very, very small place. And then
Yeah.
outside is where they have the big festival with all the chairs and the hula hoops and all the vendors. And it's an amazing thing that they have put together there. So I'm super excited. I'm playing a set with my band on the outdoor stage, and I'm doing some acoustic stuff on the indoor stage. On the indoor stage is when it's usually these like 15 to 20 minute slots. And so that's usually my time to just like crank out as many deep cuts as I can. Like
Deep
and every
cuts,
year
yeah.
I try to go deeper and deeper. And so
Yeah.
I do, it's a lot of fun. And then, outside I try to do a little bit more of the hits. They've got a great lineup this year. I'm so grateful to be a part of it. You got to get down there at one point. I know you would have a great time.
I would love it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The thing is, I actually look at flights and trying to make it happen is actually not as expensive as I thought it would be. Hopefully next year, I would love to be there. Do you have your set list ready?
No.
No.
I
got
think
time.
typically what I do is the guys I play with down there are incredible musicians. And so typically as it gets a little bit closer, I really try to change it up every year. And so
Yeah.
6 years in now, it's like set lists get a little more down to the wire. My thought process is always like, I love playing all of the songs, obviously, but usually I'm playing at night. And so if
Yeah.
the festival starts at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock or something like that, and I'm playing at 9, like chances are these people have heard American Girl once or twice already.
They probably
Or,
have, yeah. Probably
Free
have.
Fallin' or something. And so I get a kick out of playing those songs, of course,
Yeah.
but like, let me try to give something different. So at last year's set, I remember was a great time. I opened with Love is a Long Road. I think I closed with Swingin'. I try to be a little off the beaten path, even for the hit set. And so
Yeah.
that's sort of my objective. So we'll see. I think this year, I can already tell. I'm glad you're asking about this because this is right around the time, like mid-July, where my Tom Petty phase for the year starts to really identify. And
Yeah.
so if I had to predict, it'll probably be a relatively heavy mojo set this year.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Off topic, completely off topic, actually. Before we started this chat, we were talking about the World Cup real quick. Obviously, that's huge in the US right now. I don't know if you're much of a football fan. To be fair, I think we did discuss this a while back, and I'm pretty sure you said you weren't. But have you been following the World Cup?
I'm trying,
Yeah.
mostly failing, but I'm trying to follow it. I have a lot of friends who
Yeah.
are, like my friends from high school are all pretty into it. And so when
Yeah.
we're together, I follow it. I have seen a couple games, like on a TV, of course. We went out and we watched Argentina, Cape Verde.
Yeah.
Even I knew that was a special game. I just see a bunch of people running back and forth. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how the game worked. That was amazing. One of my friends is Colombian. I've seen 2 of the Colombia games. So I kind of tune in and out, but I'm definitely following like the
Yeah.
overall brackets and stuff like that. And so,
Did you watch the USA? I heard you mention a few countries here. Surely you supported the US.
yeah, I don't remember who knocked them out.
Belgium.
Belgium. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, now I got beef with Belgium. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I did watch that game. I didn't really know what was going on, but I did know
Yeah.
that Belgium was a better team. They looked real good that game though.
Yeah, no, they
For
were.
sure.
To be fair. France and Belgium have a bit of a history. We beat them in
Right.
the semi-final of the World Cup in 2018. To be fair, they haven't beaten us in a very long time, but there's a bit of a rivalry between
Right.
the two French-speaking countries. I mean, everyone loves to hate France, so we
Right.
get heated with each other, and it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, before we started, I was sorry to bring up if I remembered that you were from because I know you live in the UK.
Yeah.
So I forgot you would be supporting France. I didn't mean to bring up a sore subject.
From now on, I'm going to be supporting England
Right.
just because my country just isn't in the tournament anymore. So
Right. it could come home, you know?
It could come home. It could come
Right?
home. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm praying. All right, so going back to my final question. So you've got a new record coming out
Yes.
soon. I wanna know a few things about this record, but I'm sure there are some things you can't say. Does it have any features? How many tracks are there? Do you have a little exclusive for your biggest fans, and, do you have a release date as well?
Yeah, for sure. We are looking at, I think it's going to be September 25th. Hopefully,
Okay.
somewhere out there, my manager's ears aren't ringing and hearing me give a wrong date, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's September 25th. Yeah, it's probably going to be around 12 songs. We've cut, I think, 15, for the
Yeah.
project, and we're sort of narrowed it down to 12. So it might end up being 13. It might end up being
Yeah.
11. We're still kind of sequencing it. We're waiting on two more final mixes. So we're really in the nitty gritty with it. It feels great to be done. It was sort of a long time coming. We've been recording it for almost 2 years because we started doing some initial sessions and getting some songs done. We've put out a bunch of singles that will be on this record. And then Idol came up and we pushed it a couple months, and then I continued on Idol and pushed it a couple more months, and then I was on
Yeah.
tour, and it was like a whole thing. So I'm just excited to finally get it out. It's
Yeah.
called A Stranger by Design, and it will be out on September 25th, and
Lovely.
it'll be roughly 12 songs.
So 12 songs, like Down the Line actually, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's my first full length since Down the Line. It's my first full
Yeah.
length on
Yeah.
Golden Retriever. It was really a fun process to record. I did 4 songs here in New Jersey. We cut 2 up in Boston. We did 3 in LA. We did 2 in London, and yeah, I did a couple right here. It was a very varied process to get everything together, and it was a lot of fun. I learned a ton.
Worldwide project then.
I've gone international.
Any little features, may I ask?
No, I don't
No?
think so. No,
Ooh,
I mean, maybe we're talking about a deluxe, so there might be, but
lovely.
yeah, no. For now, it's all me. Unfortunately, there's going to be one co-write. I very very rarely do them, but I had one a couple years ago in Nashville. I did one with a friend of mine, a friend who produced 2 songs of mine, "Ghosted Road" and "Rolling
Yeah,
Away." He produced, and I happened to see him in Nashville, and I did a co-write with him and his wife, and it was great. And I think we both kind of forgot about it, and a couple years went by, and then I was going to LA for some sessions,
yeah,
and we weren't exactly sure what to do. And I just kind of like sent an old folder of stuff, and either I or the producer was like, "Oh wait, this might be cool." And so anyway, we ended up cutting it. And so yeah, that was kind of a really fun thing to see happen because it was such an old song that
yeah.
kind of was just sitting there for a while. But that's the only co-write on. The rest is all me. So we're trying it.
Lovely. I'm excited to hear it. So obviously from Idol, I can't say if these were the influences for the record, but I mentioned earlier we saw you cover some Sam Fender. So I was wondering, would you say he's like a big influence on that record coming out soon?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Sam, honestly, I don't know how I want to say it. He might be the greatest influence on this record, to be honest. I really enjoyed People Watching. I mean, I like all of his records, but I remember when that came out and I thought it was a super cool thing. Yeah, Sam's a big influence, and The War on Drugs are another really big
Yeah.
influence on the record.
Lovely. Sam Fender's one of my all-time favorites. I think his last record was probably, when did it come out? Did that come out last year?
I think so. Yeah. Probably the beginning of last year. Because I remember when I was in Europe right before I saw you was when they put out the deluxe version, which I also
Yeah.
really enjoyed.
The deluxe edition, I remember that as well. Yeah, great album. Well, listen, Jake, super, super happy to have had this chat with you. I feel like over the years, being a huge fan of yours, I feel like I'm lucky enough to call you my friend now?
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
But
I'm just super, super grateful for all the things you've done in recent months, not only because it's great as a fan to be witnessing greatness, but also it's inspiring. I'm inspired as a musician myself, as a songwriter, and I hope that you will get that same level of appreciation in the next few years and, live the dream. And this new record, I'm sure, is going to be absolutely great. So, nothing but love for you. And yeah, that's pretty much it, mate.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's so great to see you, even virtually. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I really appreciate you reaching out. Absolutely.
Are you coming back to the UK anytime soon?
Nothing's on the books right now, but stay tuned for the winter. It might be around the same time as last year. We'll see.
Okay.
I'll text you when I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that for sure.
Let me know
But
for sure.
yeah,
All right. Lovely speaking to you, mate. I'll see you soon.
I'll
See you
talk to you.
later.
Enjoy.